And people are finding out how they're getting screwed. And, you know, if you don't have a job, you've lost your home, your vehicles, and you're living out of a shopping cart under some bridge, you're not going to be very happy about anything. And so if I was all of those people who think they're the masters of the universe and are so arrogant, if I were them, I'd be very concerned. Now, I had a discussion on the program this morning with Alex Jones about the federalization of the police and the training for military people on the United States, that people who are conservative, constitutionalists, people who are veterans, people like me who are on the radio all the time, we're the enemy, and the Army and the police should shoot us. This is exactly what they're telling them, because we're terrorists. That's what's going on, and I get news for them. The military and the police are not going to do that. And they're going to find out that they made a terrible mistake, and they'll all be on one-way trips to Paraguay. And incidentally, there's been a couple of publications in Montevideo and Buenos Aires that have mentioned that Ken Lay was seen in Paraguay. Now, I don't know how true that is, but
is he rooming with Elvis?
No, I think he's down there on the Bush property.
Yeah.
Which has about 300 professional killers, mercenaries guarding the place, and they have an airfield there that can accommodate any plane in the world. And
they were good
that's
buddies.
They
were good buddies, were they not?
Yes, he was a financial advisor to the family, and so it's just like what Madoff. Within 6 months or a year of him being put in jail, and he'll go to a country club, of course, he'll be dead. And they'll have this service and they'll bury him. And he'll get on the plane and go down to Paraguay. That whole Madoff thing, and I broke this before, the whole thing happened. I said it was a CIA, Mossad operation. Madoff was recruited back in the early 1960s. And what was it? It was not a Ponzi scheme. It was a scam. Just like BCCI and Nugan Hand, both of which were run by the Central Intelligence Agency. Where did the money go? It went through the Federal Reserve in New York to offshore accounts and Israel. Most of it went to Israel. And there's a new figure out, and I think it's 117 or 171 billion, not 50 billion, that was lost. And if you remember, in my article, I said, my people tell me it was over 100 billion. So here, 6 months later, I was absolutely right. All they have to do, they being government, to pursue the money, is to see where the wire transfers went to. The Treasury Department and the New York Fed has copies of every single wire transfer denominated in dollars in the entire world. You got it? And all I have to do is bring up Madoff's company number and hit a button, and they'll have a record of every transfer and where it went to. So it's pretty obvious. The United States government is in on this. The SEC, for 10 years, was told by whistleblowers that this is what was going on. They did nothing. And now yesterday, a former attorney employee of the SEC came out and said, I told them about this, but they wouldn't listen. They switched me to another job. Incidentally, that's in tomorrow's Forecaster. I have a link to that. And so that's what's going on. And the money will never be found because they don't want to find it because they stole it. Now, what the end intention was, I don't know. Usually the CIA will use it for black ops. Same thing with Mossad. How many crooks in Israel got money, I don't know. But I'm sure there was some. There had to be hundreds of people involved in that. Anyway, you getting all kinds of news today. It's probably a weekend build-up or something.
But his wife didn't know anything about it, right?
Of course she did. She was in on it right up to her eyeballs.
I know
And
it.
so were her two sons.
They were all
and his
involved.
brother.
You know what, Bob? And that's where you see, and you're right. You know, they'll bury him out the back door, and he'll go join them somewhere.
That's right. And all of a sudden, Mrs. Madoff will be on the plane to Buenos Aires.
Yep.
And then she'll take a plane over to Paraguay, and she'll live with her husband, and they'll live happily ever after.
Yep.
On all the money they stole. And what's worse than all of this is that they stole it mostly from co-religionists. I mean, it doesn't get any lower into the bottom of the barrel doing something like that, whether they happen to be Jewish or Christian or Muslims. It doesn't make any difference. When you do that, it's bad, better than bad.
Any reason why they would target?
She's trying to give us the impression she's going to be a bag lady. Give me a break.
Yeah, and with the multi-millions of dollars that she got. Is there any reason why they would target those particular groups, or were those groups just...
No, I think they're targeting because Bernie was big in the Zionist community, and most of those people are hot on Israel.
Yeah.
And rather than ask them to give 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 billion dollars, they just took it from them.
Yeah.
Israel needs it. The two banks that did the wire transfers, actually there's three, Citigroup and Israeli Discount Bank and Bank Leumi. It's so easy to track this money. I mean, you may not get it, but you'll know who got it in the first place. And, and how is it that his company and he is able to have an offshore account and not tell anybody about it? And the average American is being hounded by the IRS, and you're being asked, do you have an offshore account? Check off this box on your tax return. Because we want to know where your money is, because really it belongs to us, not you. We've just allowed you to live here, and you're one of our slaves. I mean, this is really what this is all about. So anyway, leaving that, we got to answer these questions. I choose to enter the near future with a reliable, good vehicle for my family. I buy a new vehicle. In buying a new vehicle, would you pay cash or get a loan at a reasonable rate? The answer to that is get a loan, because you can take the money and buy gold and silver, and you'll make money, and you'll be able to pay the car off cheaper down the line. So don't you dare pay cash. That you don't have to do that. Are there reasons to take a loan and pay interest for 5 to 6 years? I just explained that. Could a dollar devaluation make loans a mess? Yes, we don't know what will happen, but I wouldn't worry about it, because everybody else is going to be in the same boat. I mean, what is the government going to do, or some company going to do? Take everybody's cars? I don't think so. No one will be able to get to work. So there'll be arrangements. So that's the best thing on that one. And that was from Gerald. Gerald's got another one here. During a bank holiday, do you think they would be able to use their credit cards? Absolutely not. How can a business which depends on Visa, MasterCard, American Express prepare for a future bank holiday? It's tough. People are going to have to pay cash. So as long as the bank's shut down, you're out of luck if you have a company. Should we plan on being closed on bank holidays? It all depends on what kind of business you got. That's a hard question to answer. Could gold be confiscated as it was under FDR? Yes, it could, but I don't see that happening. Only less than 1% of Americans own gold. 1%. You think they really want to enrage the entire public by going around and trying to get 1% of the people? And, back in the 30s, only 25% of the people turned their gold in. And it was pretty stiff. It was a $10,000 fine and 10 years in jail. And people just ignored it. They wouldn't do it. And you're going to have the same thing again if they were to do that. And besides, why bother to do that? They can go over to the ETF, GLD. They can say, Mr. ETF, you get 1,058 tons of gold. We want it. We're going to pay you cash for it at today's prices. And they'll take it. They can do it by executive order. So why mess around with all the little people who have sense enough to buy gold when you can get what you want down at the ETF?
Yeah,
Okay.
Another reason, Bob, is they don't want to mess with the little guys that own gold. I mean, these are all the people that know what's going on, and they don't want to mess with them.